Okay, around the end of the 18th century, so in the 1780s, 1790s, up until 1800, really, um, the stigma really started. It started to pick up its momentum and lessening. Um, I say stigma a lot because the stigma has a lot to do with how these asylums functioned, and this is when we start to see really major variation that between like in locations that you would see differences in quality of care given to the individuals in these asylums and institutions. King George III had a huge impact on mental health perception. He was a king and he had mental illnesses. So, obviously, the people of the time did not perceive him as, well, some of them probably largely didn't perceive him as a criminal. So, people got to thinking, wow, maybe this is out of people's control, which really helped change the attitude. And there was the penal reform. It was an incredibly large reform, and it in attitudes, and that's kind of where the shift happened from like, hey, people with mental illness don't need to be stuck in a chair, a gyrator chair. They don't need to be tied to the wall. They don't need chains. They need kindness and compassion. They need to be able to heal. So this kind of changed the attitudes. And in New York, they even promised a cure for the mentally ill in one of the asylums that arose there. Obviously, as we know now, there's really no cure. But this is all really, really important because it draws to the changing attitudes over time. But at the same time, the inhumane treatments in asylums were a huge, huge issue, which kind of points to the variation in treatment across areas. Some places you had really great treatment where people were treated humane with compassion, and some places were still stuck with just stuffing people away. This ebbed and flowed in locations. I mean, it got good and bad. It was an up and down, and it was kind of different. The world was not really unified in its perception of mental health treatment and asylums, and the role of asylums was not really uniform across the world either.